My name's Becky Givan. I'm the president of your union, and really basking in other people's shine in this meeting. I'm going to turn you over to the people who are really leading on this work, but I just wanted to give a bit of context and say that if you or others you know have put in a pay equity request over the years since we negotiated it, you may know that this program is a tremendous accomplishment and also far from perfect. It is hard to navigate. It is overly complex and convoluted. And I am not going to try to convince anybody otherwise. But I also want to say that we have had phenomenal success through this program. We have probably, you'll hear some numbers, but we have had at least hundreds of thousands of dollars in pay increases to faculty at this university through successful outcomes in this program. And we try to provide a lot of support. I'm going to turn you over momentarily to Cindy Daniels and Dana Britton, who are our union's faculty co-directors of the program. They do a just phenomenal amount of work in helping folks apply. You'll meet Rachel Sandalo-Ash from our union staff, who's our staff point person on equity applications. Sorry about the light here. I'm trying to remove the halo. And the other thing I just want to say is this is a product of the hard work of our unions and the resources that our unions put into this. And so if you're here and you're not a union member, we will follow up with you, but we need you to become a union member. We need everybody to work together to ensure that we have a pay equity program that works, that addresses all of the pay inequities that our faculty face across our campuses, whether they are based on race, gender, campus location, or anything else. And we work hard to make this program work, and we hope you will commit to joining our union if you haven't already. If you are a union member, we'd love to have your help in making sure your colleagues are too. With that, I'll only be staying on here for a couple of minutes. I'm gonna pass over to Cindy and Dana, who will lead us through the rest of the conversation, and just give you all my gratitude for taking the time to be here, investing. You need to invest in your own well-being and making sure you're paid equitably, but it's also support for our institution and your ability to stay here. And I think, one of the things I think about as we see, new administrators cycling in and eventually cycling out is we're here, we're committing to being here, we're committed to the work that we do. And if we can be paid fairly, we can stay here for the long term. So with that, thank you, Cindy and Dana.
Okay. First of all, in terms of the recording, you guys all heard that the session's being recorded. The only thing that's being recorded will be the general information part here at the beginning. So once we're through with that, then the Q&A will not be recorded. So
that's right.
So just to preserve people's confidentiality.
Mm-hmm.
So should we introduce Rachel and Alan, or have them introduce themselves?
Yes, Rachel and Alan, if you'd like to introduce yourselves, and we can come back and introduce ourselves.
Great. Hi, everyone. My name is Rachel Sandalo-Ash. I am the Director of Representation for AAUP-BHSNJ. And yeah, I do staff support for the Pay Equity Program. It's great to meet you all.
Alan?
And I'm Alan. I work on communications for the union, and I do whatever Dana, Cindy, and Rachel tell me to do, and they are amazing. So we have a lot to thank them for.
We're happy with that arrangement. Cindy, go.
I'm Cynthia Daniels. I'm co-director of Pay Equity Faculty. I'm a professor emeritus from the Political Science Department. Also, some of you may know that I successfully sued the university along with every woman in the political science department a number of years back, sued based on pay equity. So I'm very, very glad that the union was able to develop this program so that individuals didn't have to go out and hire a law firm, right, to bring claims of equity against the university. So I've been working as co-director with Dana since the inception of the program. Dana?
And I'm Dana Britton. I'm just until recently chair of the Labor Studies program. I studied gender and work and have worked on women in non-traditional occupations for a lot of years. Our division of labor usually is that I'm sort of the data person and Cindy is the substance person in terms of doing things like crafting narratives, but we fill in for each other. So we're just going to start by giving you a little information, a basic overview of the program. And I'm going to share my screen. Let's see. There we go. PowerPoint, share. Let's see. You should be seeing, there we go. There, play from start. There. Okay. So you should be seeing, I haven't done a PowerPoint in many, many years, so I feel it's feeling like a little bit like a dinosaur, but we just want to give you some basic information about the program. As Becky mentioned, the program began in September 2019, which seems forever ago now.
Yeah.
Through the end of 2024, which is where we have last collected data, there were 504 cases filed. Of those 504, 36 were repeaters. So people have applied multiple times in the
Right.
course of the program. Becky was a little bit low in terms of the amount of money we've gotten awarded. As of the end of, again, 2024, it's almost $5 million has been awarded to people in salary adjustments. So
Yeah.
we've been pretty successful.
Right. And of course, Dana and I have worked on all 504 cases over those years. So we've got a lot of experience in how to craft successful cases for people.
Yep. So here are just some summary data about the percentage of people who've gotten awards. So you can see, for example, that in terms of the total, 27% of people got no award, 73% of people overall have gotten an award, and then you can see how that's broken down by campus. Camden is the least likely, and Becky can tell you about our many, many years of efforts to try to improve those numbers for Camden, and we have recently had, I think, a fair amount of success in doing that. This just gives you a sense of the distribution of the pool versus the amount of funds received. So a little bit more at Newark versus the pool, a little bit less at New Brunswick, but these are geeky data from my perspective. So how do you do this? Well, the first step is to select comparators, and we'll talk about that in depth. There is an oddity, at least from our perspective, in this most recent settlement, in that you can select your comparators from either 2025 or 2026. You want to talk about the reason why?
Well, there are a couple reasons why. First of all, let's go back. There's a timeline, right? The window will open in between. Yes, we're going to get to that in a minute to outline the timeline. But your application, the date of your application can now be, back to 2025 or can start 2026. The significance of that is that any award that you get will be backdated. Any pay equity award you get is going to be backdated to the date of your original application. The union had to negotiate this year only because the timeline for the process is right now is 1.5 years. And so we couldn't just have an application be, effective from the actual date in 2026 because there is a disadvantage in that. So people can choose to backdate to 2025.
Yeah, and I think for most people that's going to be a good strategy. For some people it's not. Well, we can talk that out.
Yeah.
But as I said to somebody last night, rather than improving the efficiency of the program, the administration decided they would just make it the process last 2 years.
Yeah.
So the first, presumably you're here because you think you're paid inequitably compared to someone, right?
That's right.
And so that someone or those someones are going to be the people that you select as your comparators. You will write a narrative that describes your situation, and we're going to talk about some strategies for that in just a second. The submission date for the portal is March 1st, 2026. This is a link to the process, and I think let me just click over and see.
Yeah.
where it is.
Mhm.
This is linked, and Alan can give you the link for this page that has the entire process and the equity timeline.
Right.
So we go
Mhm.
back to the presentation. And then the timeline is there too. So Alan, if you could throw that in the chat, that would be excellent.
So let's just walk through the timeline.
Okay, or
Yeah.
the process or
Oh,
the timeline?
Yeah, either one.
Okay.
We can start.
Yeah, so the process is lengthy.
Okay. The first is that you have to write an application for review. And Dana and I have developed guidelines for what that narrative, we're calling the narrative, how that should be structured most effectively. So you'll see, and we'll take you through another link to how to write your application, right? The next step, the dean reviews your application and sends you that review. The dean can either approve your application in whole, can reject it in whole, or can say modify your comparators, strike some of the comparators out that you submitted or add new comparators in. So the dean has a lot of, plays a very important role in the process. If the dean approves your application in whole or in part, then your application goes to University Compensation Services. They do a salary analysis of your case. You'll have an opportunity also to disagree with the dean's evaluation, to disagree with the UCS evaluation, and to submit comments. And again, this is all going to be done through a portal, the application portal, and we'll give you the application portal link also as we move through the presentation. If you disagree with the dean's evaluation or the UCS evaluation, then you can send comments. The next stage would be to the chancellor. The union fought very hard to create a salary equity review committee that's composed of 8 faculty members. So if you disagree with the analysis of your case, then your case will go to this 8 faculty member committee. 4 of those are appointed by the union and 4 appointed by the university. And that committee will evaluate your case in whole and send their comments on to the chancellor. The chancellor will then issue a decision. You have a right to appeal that chancellor's decision and submit it into the system. If you disagree with the chancellor, you submit comments at that point. And then your case goes to the EVPAA, the Executive Vice President for Academic Affairs, who can either, support the prior determinations or deny your appeal. And then if the EVPAA supports your case, then it's remanded to the chancellor, and salary adjustments will be retroactive to the date of your application.
Okay, so now you
Yeah.
can see why this process takes a year and a half.
That's right.
And every single step has been fought out by the union, every single step.
Right.
And there have been many, many changes over the years. Believe it or not, it used to be more complicated than it is now. So
That's
as
right.
you've looked at the process, I don't think it's necessary for us to run through the dates in the timeline. The timeline is pretty self-explanatory.
Yeah.
We wanted to close with a couple of things, some strategies for writing a narrative, and then just a description of what we can do to help. So you should know that your first audience for this narrative is your dean. So the argument has to be constructed in a way that's going to be convincing to that dean.
Yeah.
The logic driving this program is an apples to apples comparison, right? So you're an apple. You want to identify somebody who is as close to you as possible in terms of your work and accomplishments, but who has the largest pay gap compared to you, right? Because that's where we're going to start. Whatever that gap is the number from which we're going to be working. So you don't want to say, look, I'm an associate professor. Here's an assistant professor that makes $1,000 less. Bad idea, right? What you want to do is maximize the size of that gap as much as you can. The other thing that you want to do is you want to make comparison. You can say in your narrative, I'm a fabulous person, but that isn't really going to help you.
Right.
The thing that's going to help you is a clear step-by-step discussion of how you are like your comparators, but you are not paid like your comparators. The single most common reason, the thing we see the most that deans give for denying cases is that the applicant has not provided enough information about their accomplishments relative to their comparators.
Yeah.
Now, that's true in some cases in which we think they have, but anyway, that's the most common reason. So choose comparators that are like you and who have a pay gap. The most,
Yeah.
go ahead.
Well, typically you're going to lay out the kind of standards that a dean might use to judge a promotion, right? So scholarship,
Okay.
teaching and service, those are the standard categories.
Right,
Okay.
and the advice, the model narrative that Cindy has put together has that information in it. The most effective cases are those with a very limited number of comparators, usually no more than 3 to 5. Do not say I'm paid more than, or I'm paid less than my entire department and give an average for the department. These have to be specific comparators.
Right.
Some of you may know something about the fact that we used to have a regression at the center of this process that actually did very little except to disadvantage Camden faculty.
Yeah.
That regression no longer applies except in intra-school comparisons, and if it's going to apply in your case, we can talk to you about that. So those are just some basic strategies. What we can do for you, we can give you salary data. That's the main thing we will do for most of you, right? So ideally, focus your query pretty narrowly for your specific comparator group. We don't want to give you like somebody, I think, once asked us for every tenured associate professor at the university.
Yeah.
Like, don't do that.
It's not going to be effective.
It's not going to be effective, and it's going to be a pain for us. We can give you advice on narratives. We can give you support through the appeals process, and we can answer any questions about process or timelines. So we've been at this a long time, and we've accumulated a lot of knowledge. So that's the basic presentation that we wanted to give you, and now we'll answer. Let me stop my share and